we're back here. So I was just going to list all of your accomplishments in terms of what your wins and represented being on ESPN, and all of your accomplishments in terms of your cornhole career, which is certainly a sport we don't have many sporters on the app, and certainly something that is quite unique, and we're really excited to talk to you. So I just also wanted to add that Timmy has his experience store on the app, where you can request a wide range of experiences with him, gaming with him, personal Q&A, and so on. So go and check that out. Welcome to the show. And let me start out with taking you back when you first decided to pursue being a cornhole athlete. Talk me through that.
So I actually went to a little taco festival at a local area by me, and they ended up having a cornhole league, and Dave Weiser is a national director for the American Cornhole League, and it was my first time playing, and he just saw that I was pretty good for my first time, so he told me all about it, and then told me to join the league, so I did all that, and then I was still in college when it started, so I played in the college championships. In my first tournament, I made ESPN with my partner, came in second. And then the year later, I went back for the alumni tournament and I won that. And then after that, I just decided to pursue it and go after it. And I turned pro the year after. So,
I mean, that's just sounds like you fell into this. I mean, I've played cornhole at a bar before, and no one ever came up to me saying, "Hey, you should really pursue that." So, how good were you in your first? Like, what does it take in terms of going professional?
So, like, when I first started, there's divisions in the league, like 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 6 when I first started. And my dad and I started up like kind of high. We started right in 3. And then the first time we were in 3, we ended up winning Division 3. So then we got bumped up to 2 the next year, ended up winning Division 2, and then got put right in Division 1. And once that happened, I just took off with it and just started putting in a lot of time. I went from throwing a lot of 8s to a lot of 10s and 12s. So.
Okay, so throwing a 12 means 4 bags in the hole, right?
Correct, yeah. And then a 10 is 3 in, 1 on. An 8 is 2 in, 2 on.
Okay, so that's already. How do you train for that?
Yeah, right. That was the hardest part because I never done it before, so it was just like kind of figuring it out. And I just ended up just going outside and just throwing for hours at a time, just figuring out what worked best for me. And there were some local pros in our area already, so kind of just watching what worked for them and then putting it towards my game and figuring out what worked best for me, and just a lot of repetition.
Okay, beyond repetition, I'm sure you have 1 or 2 little nuggets where, like, okay, like for let's say next time I'm at a bar and I play with some friends and I need that win because I just bet some beers on it.
Yeah, right.
How can I get that win? What's that little nugget that I need to know?
I would say, like, to make sure you have a flat bag that spins like this. So when you let go, you want to turn your wrist back as you're coming back and then turn it forward and have your hand flat to the sky, as flat as it can be, like this, as flat as it can be. And then you have a flat bag, so when it hits the board, it'll slide straight and won't bounce all over you. Like, so you can actually have some control of the bag.
That's awesome. I mean, this already puts me at least that much closer to my next beer.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's the way to do it.
That's awesome. So we do have a segment that we call Poll Booth. And we're basically looking for short, quick answers to a few hot sessions, a few hot takes in what it's learning a lot more about you. So are you ready for Poll Booth?
Yeah, I am.
Tailgating or going to the bar?
Go to the bar.
R&B or rock?
R&B.
College or pro sport?
Pro sport.
Vanilla or chocolate dessert?
Definitely chocolate.
Video games or television?
Video games.
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
Money or fame?
Money.
Score or block?
Score.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So that's a quick, short, learning a little bit more about you. East Coast, you said. I mean, we're based on the East Coast. We're actually based in Philadelphia, so I will have to agree with you.
Yeah, that's not too far from me. I'm in Cleveland, so.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, we were just in Philadelphia a little bit ago too for a huge tournament.
Oh, I should have known.
Yeah.
Well, next time, and we'll make sure to connect then.
Yeah,
when
sure.
you're back.
For sure, they have one in Philadelphia, like King of Prussia area, pretty much once a year. So.
All right, next year we're there.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you grew up, I mean, obviously you're an athlete. It's more of a unique sport, but certainly we're all looking for role models, right? So who were your role models in sport?
In just sports in general.
Who inspired you?
Like I was a big Derek Jeter fan and Cristiano Ronaldo because like my whole life I played baseball, soccer, and basketball, and then I went to college and played soccer. So those two were just my two role models that I wanted to be like when I was a kid. So.
Okay, and why?
Just because like they always won all the time, and you never really saw them in the news for anything bad. Like Jeter had like a spotless career on and off the field, so it was just good to see someone doing well on the field and not getting in trouble off the field. So.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now you said you played soccer at college. How is that athlete mentality helping you now?
I think it helps, believe it or not. Like there's a big mental part in the cornhole game, like what kind of shots to make, like stuff like that. And when like just pressure situations and being confident in yourself, I think that aspect of the game helps me a lot. And just like if I'm down big, I just, because of the sports I played in the past, I'm never out of it until they hit the 21. So I think that mental game has helped me a lot.
Okay, no, I can see that. As in, I mean, I was an athlete as well, and I think it helps me in a daily life, not just in sport. But I can see that as well, in particular for the mental game. Now, how do you mentally prepare? Do you have any sort of routine that you're going through, like a breathing routine, or where you go to your happy place, or anything that helps you?
Nothing like that. I just like to before like every throw, I like to, try to take a deep breath, flip the bags in my hands a couple of times, and then make sure I get a good grip on the bag the way I like to hold it. Because if I rush through that process, and I get a bad grip on the bag, it'll slip out of my hand once, here and there. So I get a wobbly bag, so it'll kick on me or just not go where I want. So I just try to take my time and focus on my grip before I throw.
Okay, so basically, is there a time limit in terms of how long you can go?
Yeah, you have to throw like the longest you can take to throw a bag is 20 seconds.
Okay, so you can't form it perfectly, or you probably can. Now.
Yeah, it's just you get your grip that you're used to, and once you find it, it comes pretty natural. So.
Okay, now while we're talking about mental game, how much trash talk is there going on at Cornhole? Is it allowed?
It is allowed. Most of the time, there's not too much at the pro events, just because actually a lot of people wear headphones when they play, and it's kind of like at the pro events, it's almost like golf, where when the person's throwing, you're not supposed to talk or yell or say anything like that. But like at the local events with my buddies and just all the people I play with weekly, there's a lot more trash talk just for the fun of it. Yeah.
Have you before just showed up randomly and taken some bets? I'm like, yeah, I'll take that beer off you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sure that happens.
Yeah, sometimes we go out like downtown Cleveland and there's a couple bars with boards and people will come up and just say like, "Oh, I'll play you guys for the boards," and then that entails like beer or something. So it just ends up happening.
That sounds like a free night.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We do have a segment that we call Pro Advice, where we're basically asking the professional for some advice. We ask our followers to reach out to us and say, well, what should we ask you? Basically, questions from the crowd, and we got some questions for you. So the first one is, my parents want me to stop pursuing sport and get a more stable job, but I love to compete. What should I do?
For me, I just had to make it work with sport and job. So I have a full-time medical sales job that I do, and then I pursue cornhole as much as possible until hopefully that can become a full-time living. So I'd say find a job that gives you the freedom to still pursue what you want to do. Don't give up on it. Just try to make it work the best you can.
Okay, so find a flexible job in terms
Yeah,
of that.
right. Good work-life balance. Job that allows you to have that. So.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Second question. I'm feeling burnout and just losing motivation to continue with my sport. How do I consistently working out and with a lack of motivation right now? How do I stay on top?
That's a tough question. I guess just find that one thing that drives you to want to play that sport and just try to remember that one thing when you're going through a struggle. Just remember why you started playing and try to remember what you love about the sport that you're doing. Because I guess if you don't love it, you probably shouldn't pursue it because you won't give it your all and give it your best. So just try to remember why you love it and started in the first place.
I totally agree in terms
Right.
of I get a lot of flow moments from sports, so that's why I love it. But I can see the added pressure in terms of wanting to be pro. And
Right.
Now, while we're talking about that, what makes you love the sport? What makes you love the sport, and can you describe that feeling when you play a really good round of cornhole?
Like, I guess, like, because I was always so competitive my whole life. And then, like, once you get older and, like, out of college, out of school, if you don't go on to the next level in that sport, you kind of lose that competitive fire you had in your, like, competitive fire you had. So as soon as I was done, this just kind of filled that competitive fire for me and still allows me to go out and compete and just gives me something that I want to try to be the best at.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there some specific feeling when you let the corn sack?
Yeah,
Is it
we just call it the bag.
the bag? Okay.
Bag, yeah.
When you let that go, you're like, it's going to be a good shot. How's that? Can you describe that feeling?
Yeah, it's just kind of like oh yeah moment. Like I just hit that. Like just you can almost look away before it even goes in the hole because it came out so clean.
Okay. Do you sometimes celebrate before it goes in?
Try not to, but if it's a big shot, yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Now, since you started cornhole, I mean, it's on ESPN. It's getting pretty big. Like, how how is the sport progressing, and how has it developed over the last few years since you started, and where do you
Yeah.
see it going?
So I've really only been playing for like 2 to 3 years now. And just in my short time playing, the prize pools have went up exponentially. And next year they're trying to get it to like $1 million prize pools at every tournament. They're getting bigger sponsorships like CBS and NBC Sports are joining in now to put it on TV with ESPN. They're also trying to work out something with DraftKings so that, the states that sports gambling is legal in, people will be able to gamble on it and all that. And it's trying to follow the golf, the way golf's set up with all their tournaments. So I guess that's the direction they're heading, and they want to be like the PGA.
Okay, that's I guess without some of the restrictive clothing
Yeah, right. Yeah, none of that.
clothing guidelines,
Right, yeah.
um, which is probably a good thing that it doesn't have that. Um, do you see the level of competition increasing then as well as
Oh
with
yeah.
that prize money added?
Yeah, so when it first started, there was only like the commissioner and the people that work for him you filled out an application. They basically approved you to be a pro or not. And now it's gotten to the point where you actually have to play and earn your spot to be a pro.
Mhm.
So just in that way, it's already improving because, in a couple of years, everyone that's a pro will have earned their spot by playing their way in. Or like if you're a pro this year, um, if you are in the top 100 in the league, you get to stay a pro. So pretty much everyone who's in it will have earned it in some way. So, and a lot of younger kids are starting to play now. So even there's some 5-year-olds that are playing, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. So it's starting to get to the younger generation too. So when that happens, it's really gonna blow up.
No, I can see that. I actually quit my snowboarding career the day after my biggest success because a 12-year-old kid would have absolutely torn me to shred in the park.
Yeah.
Like if that's the next generation, I should probably stop.
Yeah, it's getting
Uh,
like that pretty soon in Cornhole too. So
I mean, but obviously the good thing is you I would assume that experience that you have now is giving you a bit of a mental edge as well. And being, like some of the younger kids coming up, and obviously they may have started younger, but your experience and your maturity and past experience with other
right.
sports is probably helping quite a bit there as well. Now, when you said earlier, and as you have a regular job, you
I do.
basically need to work around that regular job as well
For sure.
with your training, with your competitions as well. Are there competitions sometimes where you say, "Hey, I just can't make it because of my job," or how's that going?
Yeah, so for the most part, I'm lucky. But there has been a couple events where I just wasn't able to make it just because I had to, go somewhere for work, travel for work, or just couldn't get the PTO in order to travel and make the trip. I'm lucky for the most part, but there's just a few tournaments here and there that I wish I could go to, but I just can't make happen.
Okay. Now, obviously, cornhole is getting pretty big in America. How's the international level? How's the international competition? Do you see it growing there as well?
It's definitely growing. It's just cornhole's been around in the like U.S. for a while now. The pro sport, not the longest, but people have at least been playing in their backyards for a long time. And the other countries, it wasn't really like that. But they've actually got some good leagues going in Australia, Canada, I believe India, Germany. So it's starting to take off in the rest of the world. But it's just a little behind. But hopefully one day it catches up.
Okay. I can see that. I mean, those are the countries where, like, I lived in Australia before, and that was played there, whether it's on a beach or in a bar as well.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, over your career, what's your favorite moment? There's one moment there you're like, yes, this is always going to be my favorite moment.
Probably when my second time being on ESPN and I won the tournament with my doubles partner. That was just it was great. It was totally unexpected. Um, Went down there and just ended up coming out on top. It was one of the best things ever. My family was all there. My girlfriend was there. So it was pre-COVID. So there's a lot of people in the stands. So that was the best because everyone was cheering and it was awesome being on ESPN and winning.
I mean, congratulations on that
Yeah.
win as well. But
Hey.
I mean, that's certainly I being able to share that moment with friends, family, and the fans makes a big difference.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
you just mentioned pre-COVID. What's the impact? I assume you have competed during COVID times as
Yeah.
well, with where there's no crowd. Can you describe the difference between having a crowd and having the cheering and having that engagement versus how it is without the crowd?
Yeah, honestly, the no crowd is weird because you can actually hear the announcers. So, like, I don't know if you've ever seen on TV, they'll like describe like, oh, this is the shot we think they should do, stuff like that. It's weird because when you're playing, you can actually hear them saying what shot you are about to do or should do when you're in the middle of your throw. So that's a little weird. And then just I guess like just the atmosphere and the fun of it is a little different.
Have you followed one of those advice before where you're like, you know what, actually this is a really good idea, this
Yeah,
shot?
no, I've never changed my mind mid-shot, but I'm sure some people have hearing that. They're like, oh, that might be a good idea.
I can see that. And then you just mentioned that energy from the crowd. What's that giving you? Because you also said, hey, it's you kind of want some silence when you do the shot, when you take the shot, but then you talk about that energy from the crowd. It seems like that. I mean, I'm not saying that it's the opposite, but
Yeah.
can you describe that?
So, like, like when a golfer hits a drive and the crowd goes loud or nuts after it. So, we're like every time, like after you hit a crazy shot, airmail, roll bag, or throw a four bagger, the whole crowd is yelling and cheering in between throws. So so that just makes it more fun and honestly makes it easier to focus because like you're just surrounded by that and all you want to do is put the bag in the hole.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, you've had over a 3 years career span, you've accomplished quite a lot. So what do you still hope to accomplish? What's your next goal to hit?
So I won the one tournament before I was a pro, and I came in second before I was a pro too on ESPN. So I guess my next one is just to go do it as a pro now. Get to the main stage as a pro and I've done both in doubles. I'd like to push myself to make an appearance up there for singles too. So yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's obviously doubles is. I always find it harder because you need to not only worry about your own game but also about your partner's game.
Yeah.
But then if you make it in the singles, you're like, well, that was all me. I can see that.
Right. So it's a nice accomplishment to be able to make it up there for singles too. So
okay, so that's the next on your to-do list, basically.
Yeah, that's what I would love to get to. So
cool. One segment that we ask all of our guests is rule breaker, where we basically ask you to change a rule of cornhole that would make the game better.
Okay. Just because this one rule causes a lot of like discussion and some people really don't like it. So like as soon as you let go of the bag, you're allowed to step over the line. As soon as that bag's out of your hand before it hits the board. So some people throw and with their back foot, they step over the line as the bag's in the air. So I would just say take that away and just say can't step over the line until the bag hits the board or goes in the hole, just to take out the confusion and the just constant discussion if their foot hit the ground before they let go of the bag and stuff like that, just to make it simpler.
Okay. And how is that punished then?
So if the person did step over and actually hit the ground before they let go of the bag, that they just lose that bag.
Okay.
But it's really hard to like police it because the player that is playing against them has to call them out on it. And right now, because there's 70 boards up at once, so not all the time. There's not like referees at every board or anything like that. So just get that away so there is no concern about that at all.
That seems like a rule that would actually make life a lot easier.
Right.
Is there a rule that you could think that you have thought about where in past, like that would be a sneaky way to make the game so much more exciting? As in, I don't know, it's like back stealing or I don't know.
I don't know. Just like crazy rules would be like if every round you had to shoot at least one airmail just to make it more entertaining, because really you only shoot an airmail if the other person's bag is blocking the hole and you can't slide through it. So you shoot an airmail and so that's just shooting it in the hole without it hitting the board at all. So if they made it a rule where you had to throw one airmail every round, but it doesn't matter what bag you throw the airmail on, make it a lot more interesting for people to watch too.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds like a good rule to introduce. I think
Yeah.
those little, and maybe that's as a sport advances, these little nuances where it's like, hey, if you don't get this, which is obviously, I would assume an airmail is pretty hard to hit.
Yeah, it's way more difficult than just sliding the bag in. Yeah.
So that could be something that's like, well, if you don't hit the airmail, you don't belong to the top.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I could absolutely see that. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like those rule changes. So I think we should put them forward to the Cornhole commissioners.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I am also cognizant of your time. We've always shooting for about half an hour. I wanted to say thanks for taking the time for talking to us, sharing a lot more about the sport, about yourself, and we're always looking for unique stories to share with our SPRTER crowd, and obviously I think you're the only cornhole athlete at the moment on the SPRTER
Yeah.
app.
Thank you.
That's certainly for anyone who's interested in learning a lot more about you and the sport. Follow Timmy on the SPRTER app. Check out his experience store, and get to know him a little bit better. Also follow him on all of the other social media accounts. We'll link them out here as well. Thanks for joining the SPRTER podcast today, and good luck on all of the future goals.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a good time. I appreciate it.
And next time you're in Philadelphia, King of Prussia, let me know. I'm going to come out and bring the support crowd.
I will for sure. Well, we should be there next year, so I'll definitely let you know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.